Hello, everyone. Bienvenidos to another episode of Sin Permiso, a Latina lifestyle podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of having Jessica Martinez, everyone's go-to transaction coordinator. For those of you that don't know what a transaction coordinator is, in real estate terms, it's that person that handles everything from the beginning to end and that lets us in the industry have more free time to make more money, to prospect, and possibly kind of have a life here and there. So Jessica is self-made. Jessica runs her own transaction coordinating company called RETC. And let's hear a little bit more about Jessica. Tell me, Jessica, first of all, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And tell us a little bit more about how you grew up, where you grew up. Bring us to that space, to that time. How was that?
So I was born and raised here in Lowell. Around 4, I believe, my mom and my dad, they got divorced, separated. So we moved to Philadelphia.
Sure.
I grew up basically until I was 12. And our family dynamic was my mom and my grandmother. They raised me. We lived with my grandmother. I don't recall not living with my grandmother. It was my brother and me. So what can I talk about my childhood? I just think it was a great time. I don't feel that I missed anything. I feel that como pobres vivíamos bien.
Felices.
Yes. We always had food on the table. We always had clothes, and I can't complain.
So fast forward, you moved back to Lowell at what time? Tell us a little bit your high school. What was that like? What were the people that you grew up around? And then take us to what impulsed you and what made you become an entrepreneur.
Okay. So yes, around 12 years old, we moved back here to Lowell. Went to Lowell High. I was very shy. I mean, I consider myself shy. So I was always by myself. I remember when I already had my kids. I was grown, and
you were a young mom.
Yeah, I was a young mom, but I already had my 2 kids, and I ordered Comcast, or my cable guy came to install the cable, and his name is David. We're friends still to this day, but he was very popular in high school. Very popular. And as soon as I opened the door, he's like, "Oh, Jessica, it's you." And I was like, "Oh my God, he knows my name." Like, because I was so shy and so quiet in school. So it was very like, I was in disbelief that he even knew who I was. But I was always by myself. I would not consider myself a loner, but I never like hung out with a specific group of people. My mom was very, very strict. I wasn't able to go to house parties. It was school, get out of school, work, go home. I was the one, that I would cook. By the time my mom got home from work, food was already made. The house was clean. Like, it was just the norm. I didn't know to go out to parties and stuff like that. I wasn't. I think I started drinking in my 20s. So she was very, very strict.
So then what impulsed you? Like I mentioned earlier, you grew up, there wasn't a lot of money.
Right.
It was a very traditional Hispanic household. Your mom's Puerto Rican, so she had a strong hold on you to make sure that, to watch you, to make sure that you did things right. And then what was that turning point? Like, how did you get involved in real estate? I believe you had a friend that was in real estate. How did that work?
Real estate came to me, it was back in the day, if I don't think people remember now, but it was a newspaper clipping job thing on the Lowell Sun. They was asking for an admin for a real estate agent. They required the person to be bilingual, and I had just gotten fired from my job. I've always knew I wanted to do something more in life. I was always a go-getter. I was always at my job. I was always, ones with the best ideas, coming up with, strategy, but it felt like I was always doing it for somebody else's.
Yep, you were a hard worker. So you had to
Yes.
go from hard worker for somebody else to hard worker for yourself.
Exactly. So that was always instilled in me. I was always that person. So, but I did. I applied for that job. I got the job. That was in 2003 as an admin. And I started there. I worked for one agent as his own independent admin. I did everything for him. Then I transitioned into being a paralegal for a closing attorney. That didn't work out. I was 40 years old. I had no job. I had no clue what I was going to do. I was scared shitless, needless to say. I was like, who's going to hire me? Like, what can I do? And thankfully, God had put somebody in my path a few months prior, which is Nellie. And
a great
friend, a great mentor. And she was the one who said, you're going to do this, and this is how you should do it, and this is how you're going to market yourself. And she always knew, even when I was just a paralegal, she said, this is not for you.
Yeah, that you had potential. She saw that potential in you.
She saw it before I even saw it in myself. So I said, you know what? I still have my real estate license. I had it at that time, but I don't like to sell real estate. I like the paperwork. I don't know why. All of my top producing agents hate paperwork, but I love paperwork. I think it's just that OCD in me, that person that wants to be organized all the time. So I said, this is what I love to do, and I think I could do it this way.
And you're passionate, Jessica, because we've had a lot of conversations, and you're that friend. You're a loyal friend. You're passionate, and based on our podcast, we've always been talking about the money mindset, but today we're gearing it a little bit more towards relationships, right? And when I say you're passionate, you're that person who will say, that's fucked up, that's wrong, that person did that, that's not right what they did to you. And I know that you've had those moments in your life where maybe was it a friend or etc., where you felt that person was all about them, trying to control, trying to take advantage of this or that situation. And I feel like our conversations that we've had, you've been able to come out of that, right? And walk on your own 2 feet and be where you are. So tell us a little bit about, something that may have occurred, to that, in that way that you found that was a turning point as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I quickly realized when I first started my business, I honestly I thought I was just going to be okay, supplement my income like what I was making as a paralegal. And I quickly realized my first year I made more money than I've ever made in my life. It was weird. It's still weird. But I quickly realized that a lot of people that were your cheerleaders at the beginning quickly turned and questioned you, questioned me, questioned my loyalty. But I always think that I have something in me which I need to tap into more, because I have something that tells me this is not working, you need to step away or let go. But I never listened to it.
It's called intuition.
Yeah, so I have that intuition, but I need to learn how to listen to it more and react on it. Because usually I try to give I am the one that tries to give the benefit of the doubt to anyone. But I need to start listening to it. And once it tells me let go, I need to just learn how to do that.
So I can agree with you on that point, because personally in my life, as my career, even though I've been in the industry for many years, but when it initially really started to take off and the growth was obvious, there were people that hated on it, that were upset about it, that could not stand that light. It was just too bright for them. And those are the people that we realized that we had to move on from, because if anything, their energy was pulling us back, right? Pulling us down. So anyone that I feel that becomes successful in this or any other industry generally has to shift that whole friendship group, has to shift that mentor group, has to realize that these people have to be let go and they have to stay in the past. I mean, they serve their purpose.
Right.
And it is what it is.
It is what it is. That is correct. And you just have to, like I said, there's a saying, people want to see you do well. They just don't want you to do better
than them.
And then it starts, to affect the relationship. So.
And on this relationship theme, I know, tell us a little bit about, I know you were a young mom. Tell us a little bit about that, how, that went, your relationship nowadays, how it correlates with real estate and your growth.
Yes. So yes, I was a young mom. I'm very thankful. And again, I think things happen when they're supposed to happen. Sometimes I say, wow, why didn't I have this growth when I was younger? Why do it happened in my 40s? But in all honesty, I don't think I would be able to do what I do for my agents, working, 7 a.m., 8 a.m. till 9, 10 p.m. If my kids were young, like it would not have been possible. I would have set myself up for failure. And my husband, he's not one of those people that are like, where are you? What are you doing? You need to be here. You need to cook for me. You need to clean for me.
He's very understanding.
He's very understanding, and he's very proud and loves to see
the growth
in me.
How successful you are.
Yes.
And I know that there's a backstory about your husband, so
yes,
it's very interesting. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I met my husband. I was 22. Yes. And although if you do the math, and my son's 21 now, you'll think, oh, they've been together for 22 years, which it is correct. However, we did have a 7-year hiatus.
Okay.
A 7-year separation time because him, as a young man, made a mistake, and he had a child that wasn't with me. And it was just something that I could not
forgive
or get past at that time. Maybe I would have, but for so many months I kept asking him to tell me the truth, to be honest, truthful, and he didn't. So when it finally, came to light that yes, he was the dad and he did father someone outside of our relationship, it was just something I couldn't deal with at that time. But I have to say, I think we were always friends. Our relationship, we love each other, but he was always my friend, always. So even in those 7 years, I was always his friend. He has, at that time he had heart issues. I was his healthcare proxy. When he had to go to appointments, it was like he always wanted me to be there. And he had, other female girlfriends at that time, and they would be like, but why? Why is she still in the picture? And he always said that I was the one to, he didn't trust anyone else or what have you not. So we always remained friends at, throughout those 7 years. And in those 7 years, I actually was with, and I got married with someone. El tóxico, yes. He was very toxic, very abusive. He was into drugs. Something that I was, it's sad to say, but even as a Latina and Hispanic, I never knew that. I wasn't in that environment.
You were sheltered by your mom.
Exactly.
You were never in that environment.
I was never in that environment, so I didn't know how to understand or react or what have you not. So we were together for 3 years. It was, oh my God, it was the longest 3 years of my life. I think in those 3 years, I actually, at the end, I even stopped even believing in God. I said, you're not helping. I'm praying. I'm asking to, show me the light. And one day,
How'd you get away from him?
he just said, I'm leaving. Wow. He's like, can you buy me a ticket so I can go to Philadelphia? I'm like, oh my God. So I think he left on a Monday. A Tuesday, I called Arturo.
Your husband.
My husband now. I said, he left. He just left. And he's like, wow. He's like, when you going to come visit me? And I said, I'll come this weekend. So it was, like I said, our friendship, our love for each other was always there. I think I had to go through my own growth. I think I had to go through what I did go through with El Tóxico to just make me realize that you can forgive, I know they say you forget. I can't really sit here and say you forget, but you do forgive. And I have forgiven him. And not only that, he has put his part into it.
Yep, he's proven himself.
He's proven himself.
This relationship now is different. It's on
very
your
different.
terms.
Yes, it's on my terms, and he is not the same person, the same man. He had to go through his own growth and hard times to know that that I was the one that he wanted to be with.
Well, he values you,
Exactly.
he respects you.
Funny story. When we did get back together, one night, it was like 3 a.m. I woke up and he's just staring at me, literally staring at me, like.
That's when you know.
And I said to him, I said, what is your problem? Why are you staring? And he's like, because you don't know how many times I prayed to God to allow me to have this opportunity again. So that's when I knew that it was going to be different and that things were different. And then once we got together and a year or two passed by, he was the one who said, I want to get married. So it was his decision.
Beautiful.
It came from him. And
you don't often see that, so the trajectory that you guys have had within your relationship, and then the time apart, and then to know that you're back, it's successful, you enjoy, respect each other, it's beautiful. Yes. Nothing's perfect, Jessica, and we say that all the time as far as relationships go, right? Nothing's perfect, but it's as perfect as it can be for both of you now, no?
Definitely.
So as an entrepreneur, a businesswoman, a glamour, right?
Yes.
Because you're definitely a glamour
Yes.
to two beautiful little girls who,
Yes.
by the way, I'm always told, like, there's no other love like the love of the grandkids. I mean, can you elaborate on that?
I mean, it is. It's just, it's un amor so different. It's so, I don't know, pure. I mean, you finally have the time to dedicate to
And a little
them.
more money.
Exactly. And definitely have more money to just be with them, enjoy them. And I learned, like when they're there, my phone is thrown off, my computer's off. It's just them and I. And I just want them, honestly, I want them to love me as much as I love my grandmother.
Oh, yeah, because you've always talked about your grandmother and
Yep.
what beautiful memories you have of her. And it's really special because I think as a Latina myself, the memories that I have of my grandmother are unbelievable. The stories she would tell me, it's vivid. I can see myself sitting in that living room, and she didn't speak a word of English. She'd be watching Hawaii Five-0, and I'd be like, abuela, ¿usted cómo entiende? She was like glued to the TV watching Hawaii Five-0. That was the show. She'd be like, yo entiendo, yo veo que está pasando. I'm understanding what I'm seeing. And like all the stories and the moments, like those were the days, right? Those are beautiful memories, and to be able to now be you, giving that to them. Exactly. I mean, that's phenomenal. So what's next for Jessica Martinez? I know you're thinking about investing maybe in Puerto Rico, in Dominican Republic. I know you've been offered partnerships in your business. What would you like to do? What are your thoughts now moving forward in the next 5 years for RETC?
So as you know, we were just in San Diego for the NARAP convention, and I met a few investors out there. So I threw out my pitch of what I want to do for my TC company, and being able to do what I do at a much larger scale. So hopefully in 5 years, I'll be able to sell that software that I
Ooh.
hopefully plan to
Me
have.
pica. This means money right here.
Exactly.
It's itching.
So I'm very excited about that. So that's what I'll be working on in the next few months, and hopefully in 5 years, who knows?
Exciting.
Very.
Exciting. Well, Jessica, you've been a pleasure to have. You're lovely. Your energy is so soft, so beautiful, so genuine, so sincere. Thank you for talking about your life, your dreams, your desires, your past, and a little bit of your future. Thank you for joining us at the Sin Permiso podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.